Great. What's going on, everybody? We are getting everything situated and started, and we're about to teach you another world history lesson sponsored by yours and truly's True Nation on the history of Abraham, our forefather. Bless you, brother.
Excuse me, thank you.
My name is Aman Allah,
My name is Shahad Amath.
and we are currently live. So we're going to start, get into this with the book of Genesis, let's do actually chapter 11 and verse 32, and we're going to read after. No, 31.
This is Genesis chapter 11 and verse 31. And Terah took Abram his son, and Lot, the son of Haran, his son's son, and Sarai, his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife. And they went forth with him from Ur of Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan. And they came unto Haran and dwelt there. And the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran.
So previously, we're going over the lesson on Shem. We see that Terah is basically the final descendant of that Shemitic line that the Most High would have his eyes closely upon to eventually get into now Abraham. So Terah initiated the leave from Ur of the Chaldees all the way in Babylon with his son Abraham, died basically along the way, and now Abraham has taken on the baton to dwell in another land. And on the way of doing that, Abraham speaks to the Most High God, and the Most High God tells him, look, I have found favor with you because you come from your father's stock, and your father's stock comes all the way back from Shem. I've been keeping my eyes on y'all, and you're the one that I'm saying that I'm about to choose you. So I'm about to, prep you and look at you and see if you're really worthy of what I want to give to you exclusively. And this is the thing that Abraham becomes known for in, later Israelite history. And we can actually touch upon that, actually, as far as where those things are mentioned in the scriptures. And then we can get into the history of it. But let's get to the book of Hebrews. Give me 1 second.
Hebrews 11 and 8.
Yes.
This is Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 8. By faith, Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should after receive for an inheritance, obeyed, and he went out, not knowing whither he went.
So Abraham, this statement is why Abraham becomes known historically and even today the father of faith, because he said right there, he obeyed. He obeyed the will, the words, and the desires of the Most High God Yahweh, much like his father before him and his fathers and stuff like that. So again, this was something that was passed down in the family, and the Most High was feeling, for a long time, until finally he's like, yeah, I've felt this long enough. I'm about to, just go all out and choose you to be my people, and you're going to be my God. That's why Abraham becomes known as the father of faith, because he was the one that was presented with that amongst all other nations of the earth. You can read on.
Verse 9, by faith he sojourned in a land of promise, as in a strange country, dwelling in tabernacles with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. For he looked for a city which hath foundations, whose builder and maker is the Most High. Through faith also Sarah herself received strength to conceive seed, and was delivered of a child when she was past age, because she judged him faithful who had promised.
So all these, wonderful things that are said in the book of Hebrews about Abraham. But it doesn't stop there. Let's go to the book of Romans real quick. Romans, and it might actually be chapter 9, but I'm going to tell you right now specifically. Romans chapter 4. You can start at verse 8.
This is Romans chapter 4 and verse 8. Blessed is the man to whom the Lord will not impute sin. Cometh this blessedness then upon the circumcision only, or upon the circumcision also? For we say that faith was reckoned to Abraham for righteousness.
So again, another dropping reference, or a reference dropped to Abraham and being remembered by his faith, even so much to where, where Paul's getting into this particular doctrine, being how can the uncircumcised, or those not in the covenant, that were kicked out, how can they, walk by faith like Abraham, or even like those that are in circumcision? That's the whole debate that Paul is dealing with in the book of Romans right here. We're not going to get into that because that's a doctrinal lesson that's for another day. But again, understanding that this faith, this obedience, this desire to enact the will of the Most High God Yahweh was important and reckoned to Abraham. Lastly, because this man is such an honorable person, we're going to go to the book of Sirach and see what Sirach actually had to say about him as well. Sirach chapter 44 and verse 19.
This is Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, in the Apocrypha, chapter 44 and verse 19. Abraham was a great father of many people. In glory was there none like unto him, who kept the law of the Most High, and was in covenant with him. He established the covenant in his flesh, and when he was proved, he was found faithful.
See that? It says, and when he was proved, he was found faithful. So the Most High is initially presenting that covenant and that promise to him and then to his seed, saying, I like y'all, but let's see how it's going to go down. And eventually, as we're going to get through this history lesson, we'll see that he was proved. So let's get back to the book of Genesis, and we'll, touch into some of those telltale details here. Genesis 12, verse 1.
Now the Lord had said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will shew thee. And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. And in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed.
So this is the thing. Abraham, much like us in the faith in Christ, Christ is our connection to getting the Most High to hear our pleas and our cries and our sins. Abraham and the promise and the covenant that the Most High made with him, which what we descend from by blood, because of Abraham and Israel, the nations have an opportunity to also get blessed by the Most High, but through us, keeping that governance. So again, this is all the connection and ties of how the Most High is keeping things in a hierarchy and an order so that, things are functioning well. So again, it says right there, all the families of the earth will be blessed through Abraham. And what we understand today, blessed through Israel. Even in our captivity, we bless this country. We bless any country that we'll be at, be it through entertainment, be the most telltale thing, but we got a lot of Israelite inventors that were so-called blacks, that were so-called Native Americans, that were so-called Hispanics and Latinos, that were right there, if not drawing out the blueprint, constructing and building things efficiently that these other nations in our captivity take benefit of. So again, that's all that we can really see and understand, for those that aren't aware of their heritage, what we can see as far as the other nations being blessed by us. That's just, a broad example. But again, this promise still is in effect. You can read on to verse 4.
Genesis 12 and 4. So Abram departed, as the Lord had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him. And Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. And Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran. And they went forth to go into the land of Canaan. And into the land of Canaan they came.
So Abraham is, one of the very first forefathers that's moving around. Some might mistakenly call him a vagabond, but that's not the case. The Most High was with him, and the Most High was instructing him to go to these different places, and he had to rest along the way. So again, that's why he had his tents, but he also had not just tents for himself. He had workers. He had his own animals, and as he kept going from place to place, his substance, or his wealth rather, kept increasing. And I wish we had a little bit more insight and details into that, but there is an instance later that we're going to talk about as far as what the Most High did to actually increase Abraham's wealth. But again, if you didn't know, he was a shepherd. That was our occupation within our lineage and our bloodline. So he had the animals on deck, and how to utilize them for various purposes. You can jump to verse 10.
This is Genesis 12:10. And there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down into Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was grievous in the land.
So from Canaan now to Egypt, Abraham at this point is moving again to a land basically to where he can still prosper. And this is one of the things I want you guys to understand too. These other heathen nations, stuff like that, they're there basically to pretty much work for us. We need them to do their, machine operator jobs so that we can get the resources that we need to get so that we can keep prospering and being wealthy from us. So all that being said is, deal with, in your captivity right now in wisdom, deal with business with these heathens out here. Be wise in a good way with them, because they're still supplying us with things that we need to build ourselves up. Don't just fire on a heathen because they're a heathen, and don't just write a heathen off business-wise because they're a heathen. See what you can actually utilize them in their territory with, because as we're going to see, read on.
Verse 11, and it came to pass when he was come near to enter into Egypt, that he said unto Sarai his wife, Behold now, I know that thou art a fair woman to look upon. Therefore it shall come to pass, when the Egyptians shall see thee, that they shall say, This is his wife, and they will kill me, but they will save thee alive.
Matter of fact, read verse 13, then I'll expound on that.
Say, I pray thee, thou art my sister, that it may be well with me for thy sake, and my soul shall live because of thee.
So this is one of the things, again, we know these other nations and these heathen nations, they're not good for our spirits and our souls, but again, they're good for our flesh. So it's about discerning the between the two. So right here in this instance, Abraham knows the spirit of these Egyptians, or rather just these strangers, and know that they don't have the same customs and morals that he gets from the Most High God Yahweh. To the point being that he knew that they would know that his wife would be so beautiful that they would do anything to get her. And this is the thing. People know, when a marriage union is together, that means that person, that wife, that husband, they belong to each other. And if I kill this person, they're no longer married. So Abraham in wisdom is basically being like, so that they don't kill me to take you away from me because you're my wife, you just tell them, and I'm going to tell them, you're my sister. Therefore, they'll leave me alone because they're going to take you anyway. Regardless of you were my wife or literally my sister, these other nations are going to desire you that bad to where they're going to take you regardless. So, foreseeing that, he's like, just say you're my sister, let them take you, and then the Most High is going to figure it out for the rest of us, after the matter. So that's that. You can read on.
Verse 14, and it came to pass that when Abram was come into Egypt, the Egyptians beheld the woman, that she was very fair. The princes also of Pharaoh saw her, and commended her before Pharaoh. And the woman was taken unto Pharaoh's house.
So this is less violent than what it could have been that Abraham foreseen. So again, he's in the land, And you got all these, let's say, call them brown noses or ass kissers, being like, oh, this woman will be perfect for our king, for the Pharaoh. Let's take her from him and present her to him so that we can get our what is that? Not pro bono, pro quid quo. I'm gonna give you something, you're gonna give me something. So that's how they was thinking as far as honoring their ruler, and their ruler would be blessing them. That's how they was thinking. Read on.
Verse 16, and he entreated Abram well for her sake, and he had sheep and oxen, and he asses, and manservants, and maidservants, and she asses, and camels. And the Lord plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, what is this that thou hast done unto me? Why didst thou not tell me that she was thy wife? Why sayest thou, she is my sister, so I might have taken her to me to wife? Now therefore, behold thy wife, take her, and go thy way. And Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they sent him away, and his wife, and all that he had.
So at this point in time, again, the other nations, they're aware of the Most High God Yahweh, but they're like, we're not concerned about him until the Most High God Yahweh, which however that they knew him by, and they recognize, oh, this God is the one that's doing these terrible things to us. Let's investigate and inquire. Oh, this God or this man belongs to this God. So we sinned against this man, which sinned against his God. Let's go make propitiation or repentance to this man, whatever we did. And again, it happened to be that's because they took Abraham's actual, wife. And the Most High's judgment is, if you do anything with that wife, the man that does that, it needs to be put to death and die. So that's why the Most High was plaguing Pharaoh's house at this time. But again, back to the wealth part, the whole exchange was, I'm going to give you this substance and these sheep and more substance to you while you give me my wife. So Abraham's kind of like, yeah, cool, man. I'm going to take that. You take my wife. The Most High is now cursing you, and I get my wife back. So this is how Abraham's wealth, in another instance as well, actually starts increasing and building more. As far as what he did in Haran or even in Canaan isn't said, but I mean, it's safe to assume that however he went about getting his servants and his substance, the Most High definitely interceded and basically gave it to him. And the Most High says it all throughout the scriptures, ask me and I'm going to give you these things. It's not going to be because you're the work of your hands. I'm doing this for you. You just got to put in some effort too. So that's that. You can read 13 and 1.
And Abram went up out of Egypt, he and his wife, and all that he had, and Lot with him, into the south. And Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold.
Yep, because of everything that he initially came with, and that Pharaoh gave him because of Pharaoh's mistake. Read on.
And he went on his journeys from the south even to Bethel, unto the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Hai, unto the place of the altar which he had made there at the first. And there Abram called on the name of the Lord.
So leaving Egypt, Abraham and his brother and his substance, their house, they're in a part of the land back in Canaan and, dwelling there. And their substance together is so big and so much that they can't even stay in the same area, fields together. They got to be like, you guys need to move further east. I'm going to stay here, whichever you want to do. His brother, Lot's like, I'm going to just go further. I'm a dip out. You can stay here in the land of Canaan. And that's basically what happens in these next few verses. So, you could go to verse 14. So the Most High likes to repeat himself a lot, especially when it concerns his promises and his covenants. So now we see the Most High speaking to Abraham again to remind him, hey, remember when I told you about how cool you are? This is how cool you are and how much I'm going to promise to you. Verse 14.
And the Lord said unto Abram, after that Lot was separated from him, lift up now thine eyes and look from the place where thou art northward, and southward, and eastward, and westward. For all the land which thou seest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed forever.
So it's interesting how the Most High came to Abram as soon as Lot left. Like when he was out of the mix, the Most High's like, oh yeah. Hey, what's up, bro? I'm gonna do these things for you. You know, such and such, such and such. Your brother, okay, yeah. I'm not including him, so I don't want to hurt his feelings. But it's good that he's over there now. But I'm helping you out right here. So that's how the Most High was rolling with Abram at this point. Read on.
Verse 16, and I will make thy seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can number the dust of earth, then shall thy seed also be numbered.
You're going to have a lot of kids on par with the other nations, just saying. Read on.
Arise, walk through the land in the length of it, and in the breadth of it, for I will give it unto thee. Then Abram removed his tent, and came and dwelt in the plain of Mamre, which is in Hebron, and built there an altar unto the Lord.
So we know Hebron, Bible Atlas, Bible Dictionary. We know he was back in the land of Canaan, and that's why the Most High was saying, look at this, land which you're dwelling at. I'm about to give this to you and your seed after you. Look at it, walk around it, like it. This is the best of the best, and I'm glad that your brother Lot is no longer here because it's for you. That's how the Most High is operating with him. So in the process of that time, Abraham's relishing in the promises of the Most High. There's stuff that's happening around him too with the other nations. There's wars with inbred giants, kings of Sodom, kings of Raphael. So all this is going on, and it just so happened to be in the midst of these, we'll call them world wars. In the midst of these world wars, Abraham's brother Lot, because he went further east to where the other nations were, he gets caught up in that. So Abram's like, oh, that's my bro. I love him. I'm gonna go help him out and save him. And we're gonna read the details into that. Go to verse 11, 14 and verse 11.
And they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their victuals and went their way.
That world war.
And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. And there came one that had escaped, and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, and brother of Aner, and these were confederate with Abram.
So again, touching on the point, Abraham was confederate. He had good business with some of these other heathens that were around him, the Amorites and such like that. So much to the point to where they knew about his stock and saying, hey, your brother, your brother-in-law, he got taken in the war. I mean, we just thought you should know, because we're cool with you like that. So he gets intelligence from these other nations as well too. Read on.
Verse 14, and when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants, born in his own house, 318, and pursued them unto Dan. And he divided himself against them, he and his servants, by night, and smote them, and pursued them unto Hobath, which is on the left hand of Damascus.
Read on. You can read on.
And he brought back all the goods, and also brought again his brother Lot, and his goods, and the women also, and the people.
Man, so I'm not sure if anyone, because I don't even watch these either, if anyone's ever watched like westerns, like western films, as far as, when people in America started coming over to the West. The reason why they call films like that, or that time period, the Wild Wild West, was because there was no real established, government or federal boundaries saying that you can't do this, you can't, as far as territory, and, protecting what you claim. There was no, in this point in time, there was nothing like that was preventing you from taking your people, your servants, and just going to war just because. Like, how we have here, in the city, like in LA. If you were to do that, matter of fact, we see when people do that, in gang violence, because that's really no different, just on a smaller scale. We see that when we do that with each other or with the other nations, we have a federal or a state police that is neutral, so-called, so to speak, and will stop either side. So that wasn't what happened right here in this instance when Abraham took matters in his own hands with his own equipment and his own servants to basically make war on another faction or another group of people to get his bloodline or his blood back and safe, including all their house and substance and the women and kids. So the closest thing, again, that you can really imagine to that modern day is like Wild Wild West and Western films, where it's like seemingly no territorial rules, and it's all about who has the favor of God really at that point. Because Abraham didn't have to do that. He did that out of love. But again, the Most High probably didn't really care so much whether he did or didn't, but just Abraham's character and nature and being the father of faith, the Most High probably just respected that even more. But still was like, in you, in your seed, I'm choosing. I'm not choosing Lot's seed. Eventually, they're probably going to be your enemies anyway. So read on from where you left off.
Verse 17. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer, and of the kings that were with him at the valley of Shaveh, which is the king's dale. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God.
So that's what we understand to be Melchizedek, Malak Tazadot, king of Shalom, Salem. That was Christ. That was a form of Christ in the Old Testament. You know, being a priest of the Most High, and in a form pretty much to where he could deal and reason with Abraham specifically. Because Abraham, again, he wasn't a priest; he was just a servant. So there was no priesthood or Levitical priesthood like Israelites would have had. So, you know, Christ in this instance was that for Abraham in that point in time. Read on.
Verse 19, and he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth, and blessed be the Most High God, which hath delivered thine enemies into thy hand. And he gave him tithes of all. And the king of Sodom said unto Abram, Give me the persons, and take the goods to thyself.
So we're getting we're going to divide up the two instances, but right now we see that Abram, he gives tithes to the priests to give to the Most High God, and that should be an understanding as far as business-mindedness. You know, you always got to, you know, pay into something that is taking care of you. So that's one aspect of understanding what tithes are back then, what they were in the Levitical priesthood, and even what we do nowadays, where we're not necessarily judged by, you know, meat and drink, you know, as far as specific amounts to offer, you know, on feast days, but at the same time too, we still bring things to the Most High's feast days that we keep in captivity, you know, according to our ability. So that's basically the business between a relationship, you know, on a material level with these tithes and offerings and peace offerings. But now we're going to get into another instance as far as business too with this king of Sodom. Read on in verse 22.
And Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have lift up mine hand unto the Lord, the Most High God, the possessor of heaven and earth, that I will not take from a thread even to a shoe latchet, and that I will not take anything that is thine, lest thou shouldest say, I have made Abram rich.
So Abram's letting the king of Sodom know at this point in time. He's like, hey, you know, I helped you out, or not even help. Give me basically something because you're dwelling in my territory. And let me read this real quick. Abraham's basically telling him, like, I'm not touching nothing that owns to you. I'm not taking anything from the thread of a donkey to a shoelace, basically saying, I don't want none of your stuff because you're going to say that you made me rich and you're going to try to get in my pocket and in my wallet, and that's that's not how it went down. The Most High blessed me. It wasn't you. So he's letting the king of Sodom know that right now. But still, he even acknowledges in verse 24,
save only that which the young men have eaten, and the portion of the men which went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them take their portion.
So Abraham is very highly aware of, goods and stuff like that, and business, and how people can kind of be sneaky as far as the scriptures talk about, a gift blinded the heart. Don't accept gifts from just any old and everybody because it could have strings attached. That's basically what Abraham is letting this guy know, and he's even letting him know, yeah, I did eat from your land, and I'm going to pay that part back. But don't think that you're getting anything else that I got blessed with by the Most High. I'm not, you had nothing to do with that. I didn't touch nothing of yours, because if I did, that would give you rights, to step in the door and be like, oh, this is our food. This is our substance. Like, nah, this is mine, bro. Separate. So that's, one instance with that. The highlight of business is basically watch out what you accept things from, and watch who you just do fair weight in business with. You can just read in chapter 15, verse
1. This is Genesis 15 and verse 1. After these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abram in a vision, saying, fear not, Abram, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward.
So the Most High is coming to Abram again and assuring him, be like, you're my guy, bro. I'm your shield. And that's important to know, bro. This is such an important scripture to understand how the Most High is literally protecting us in everything. And we should have no fear to go about doing things like Abraham did, as far as even going to war with his own, his own people, his own militia, a small army of 300, and winning that over. The Most High saying, I'm your protection. I'm your shield. Like a warrior in a war. I'm your shield. I'm your defense. Don't be scared. I got you. So that's something that we got to just circumcise our hearts to understand about the Most High. And he says, and your exceeding great reward. Verse 2.
And Abram said, Lord God, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless? And the steward of my house is this Eliezer of Damascus. And Abram said, Behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is mine heir.
So he's just dealing with the Most High as a friend, being like, okay, cool, you're saying all that, that's cool though, but how are you going to, bless me, and me thinking beyond me, how are you going to bless like my name and my seed line when I don't even have kids? The closest person that I have to me as far as, servant or son like is this guy, which is one of his servants, from Damascus, and he's not of my blood. He's just pleased to dwell in my household. He's a good dude. So how are you going to, bless me, and I can't even have kids? So now the Most High is like, I'm going to give you kids. Basically, he's letting him know, I'm going to give you kids. Just like I told you before, you're going to have many of them. They're going to be like the sand of the sea. And in you and them, all the other families of the world are going to be blessed. Just keep believing that. We go to verse 8.
Verse 8, and he said, Lord God, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it? And he said unto him, take me an heifer of 3 years old, and a she-goat of 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he took unto him all these, and divided them in the midst, and laid each piece one against another, but the birds divided he not. And when the fowls came down upon the carcasses, Abram drove them away. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, an horror of great darkness fell upon him.
So the Most High is instructing him. He's like, make a meal, make a sacrifice unto me, enjoy that, and you're about to go to sleep, and I'm about to give you some detailed, visionary experience right now. So right now, Abraham's having a dream, a night dream, vision, same thing. Read through.
Verse 13, and he said unto Abram, know of a shortly that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years, and also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with a great substance.
Man, so the Most High is so amazing and just amazing and crazy as far as what he knows from past, present, and future, and him being called eternal. He's already calling, he's already calling out Israelite captivity that we're living in America from the jump right there. So again, this was a prophecy that could not have been known from where we're at in 2024. This prophecy could not have been known back in 1492. This prophecy could not be known back in the 1300s, the 1200s, the 1100s, because nowhere and no other instance has Israel been in affliction, in captivity for 400 years than here in America. This doesn't apply to Israel when we first got the patriarchs and was dwelling in Egypt with Moses. That affliction and captivity doesn't add up to 400 years. I believe that adds up to like maybe between 80, depending on how you do the math, between 80 and like 200 years at the most, the actual original Egyptian captivity. But again, here it's saying 400 years. So the Most High already knew where we was going to be at, obviously because he's the Most High, even from back then. And therefore also knowing all the stuff that we will be into and going through, and the mercy and grace that he be showing us because of that eventually too. So it's amazing. It's amazing when you really understand that. But again, these are things that all Christians and Jewish scholars, they wouldn't have known at a certain epoch in history. These things are revealed to us now because of what we actually have been through. Read on.
Verse 15, and thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace, and thou shalt be buried in a good old age. But in the fourth generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. And it shall come to pass that when the sun went down, and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed between those places.
So Abraham, has that vision, just making it be known by the Most High, you're going to have your kids. Now we're going to see how much of the land that Abraham was promised, which is way smaller than what we see as Israel today. So I'm going to paint that picture a little for you. You can read at verse 18.
In the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates, the Kenites and the Kezites and the Cadmonites.
You don't have to read all that. You don't have to read all that. It's just basically let you know all the territory that these Canaanite peoples, the Ites and the Ites and the Ites and the Rephaims and the Girgashites, all that in between the river of Egypt, the Nile, to the Euphrates, which again, that's initially where Abraham came from. He's saying all that and everything in between is going to be yours. And what do we end up with as the actual official children of Israel? The small piece of Israel that we know today, Palestine, Gaza Strip, the land of the Philistines, Canaan. That's all that we think. But again, this promise was way bigger. And when we come back, we're going to have so much more geography to play upon. It's crazy. You could read chapter 16. We're going to talk about that briefly.
This is Genesis chapter 16 and verse 1. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, bare him no children, and she had an handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar.
So basically what's going on here is, despite the fact that Abraham's been promised that you will have a seed according to your lineage, being how Sarah and you, not a heathen, you're going to have a seed of a mutual marriage. Sarai at this time decides to jump the gun and be like, let's just make the Most High's prophecy come right now. Let's do this right now. We don't have to wait until I become unbarren. We could force this. So this is one instance of forwardness that created a nation of people that the Most High worked around. but also to fulfill the prophecy of Abraham being the father of many peoples anyway. This is the birth of basically the Ishmaelites, or a type of Arab that we would know modern day, like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Dubai. These are where most of them, if not some of them, descend from, is this particular marriage and union between Sarai's servant Hagar and Abram. So without any further ado, we don't have to go over that chapter, but that's chapter 16 if you guys want to know that history. Go to 17 and 1.
This is Genesis chapter 17 and verse 1. And when Abram was 90 years old and 9, the Lord appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am the Almighty God. Walk before me and be thou perfect.
So this was, again, Abraham was basically about to be 100 years old. So it's been, I'm trying to get the exact time too, and I don't have it, but it had definitely been some years and some time where the Most High repeatedly coming to Abraham and assuring him of that promise, being like, you're going to have kids, they're going to take over the world, everyone's going to love you. If they don't love you, they're going to get put to death and put out. It's going to be good for you and them. So, yeah, repeatedly the Most High is telling him, and he's telling him again right now at 99. Verse 5, even to the point to where his name gets changed, and the covenant becomes to get established.
Neither shall thy name any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be Abraham, for a father of many nations have I made thee.
Including Ishmael. Read on.
And I will make thee exceeding fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee.
Ishmael, the other ones as well, but again, not on the same level as Isaac would be. Read on.
And I will establish my covenant between me and thee, and thy seed after thee in the generations of an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee, and to thy seed after thee. I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God.
So, man, pattern of business, the same pattern of business as far as how we see, your real true wealth, is going to come from the Most High. There's things that we need to do that's necessary to, maintain on the day by day, but the real wealth is going to come from just that patience, waiting and hoping on the Most High, and for him to give you favor in whatever circumstances you're in, to where you're basically, through his power, given whatever the wealth that it is that, you're going to get. And that's why there's a scripture that says, you didn't get these things by your own hands. I gave them to you. You didn't do any type of, or you couldn't have put in the same amount of work that these other nations did to establish themselves, that I'm now giving you and getting rid of them from. So that's just the only way and wisdom that I can see how we're going to become wealthy in our captivity, and of course once we're actually free, because everything's going to be prepped for us, materialistically. We just got to prep our own minds and spirits for all that. Read verse 9.
This is Genesis 17 and verse 9. And God said unto Abraham, Thou shalt keep my covenant thereof, thou and thy seed after thee in their generations. This is my covenant which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee.
Read verse 11.
And ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token unto the covenants betwixt me and you.
So at this point in time, the Most High is like saying, you're really my guy, you're really my dude. And this is going to be the proof of all the conversations that we've been having before, that I've been watching you see if you will play it cool. You have been playing it cool. So this is going to be the proof of, yes, I'm going to give you this. When you're going to circumcise yourself right now, or get someone else to do that actually, and everything that's a male, everyone that's a male in your house, you're also going to circumcise. And eventually, as we read down, when you do have the son of the promise, because again, Ishmael was still there at this time. He wasn't the promise. He was a forward action, but he still had to get circumcised. He's letting Abraham know, when you do get your son, you got to circumcise him just like you circumcise yourself and that you circumcise your son. So that's going to be the stipulations. But I got you because you had me this whole time, since you left Canaan with Terah, your father. So I explained that. We can read verse 21.
Verse 21, but my covenant will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time in the next year. And he left off talking with him, and God went up from Abraham. And Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all that were born in his house, and all that were brought with his money, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin in the selfsame day as God had said unto him. And Abraham was 90 years old and 9 when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And Ishmael his son was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. In the selfsame day was Abraham circumcised, and Ishmael his son, and all the men of his house born in the house, and bought with the money of the stranger, were circumcised with him.
So that's the first time. That this is like a new thing. Again, this is no different than the rainbow when the Most High flooded the earth, and that was the sign of the covenant of not flooding the earth again. This is now a new thing that our people have adopted, and subsequently other people in the whole world as well. Is this circumcision of the male members and stuff like that? And it's crazy because obviously considering the circumcision, they consider that part a covering or the head. But that's why when we pray to the Most High, when we got to take our hats off, it's like in a similar sense. It's like we're exposing. I'm talking about our actual cabezas, our heads. We're exposing ourselves to be poured in upon by the Most High, and somehow that's parallels with that as well too. So I just thought that tangent would be cool to talk about. Chapter 18, you can read on.
And the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day, and he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowed himself toward the ground.
So at this point in time, the Most High is sending messengers or angels to Abraham to basically dwell with him, confirm things with them, and in the midst of talking, they're just reestablishing and reaffirming the promise that the Most High is making to him. So Abraham just keeps getting assured and assurance of his faith. He's gotten a lot of it. But eventually down the line, Sarah is, remember, she was the one that initiated Hagar to have the kid, thinking that, this is going to be the kid that's going to, that the Most High is going to have a promise and a blessing to. So already knowing that kind of makes sense to why Isaac became named Isaac. And we're going to we'll touch on that actually. So let's go to verse 12.
This is Genesis chapter 18 and verse 12. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord being old also? And the Lord said unto Abraham, Wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I of a shortly bear a child which am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the time appointed I will return unto thee, according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laugh not, for she was afraid. And he said, Nay, but thou didst laugh.
So we kind of have the typical women of Israel and just women in general kind of just popping off of the lip, being like, I didn't do all that. Like, yeah, you did. You're lucky because, you're a lady. You have, those more emotional tendencies. But just let it be known that it's coming through you. So again, it's for brothers that are married, because I'm not married, I can see how, I guess, tough or rough it can be to kind of establish that faith in a wife when they don't really believe and do stuff like, oh, take Hagar. This will be the son of the promise. Nah, that's not what the Most High said. It's gonna be through you. And she didn't even believe that, or she believed it, but she was just like, man, just no control. So that's just the lively nature of women and the women of Israel in particular. So Isaac's name became Laughter because of the womanly tendencies of Sarai at this time. Now we can go to, you can read verse 23, and I'll explain what's going on.
This is Genesis chapter 18 and verse 23. And Abraham drew near and said, Wilt thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked?
Khan. So really the real reason why those messengers of Yahweh came through, because they was actually passing their way, and Abraham was there along the way to go to Sodom and to go to Gomorrah and to basically survey the land and see if it's as wicked as what the Most High is getting all these reports for. So that's what they were basically doing. They were on a mission to see and verify and prove the wickedness of this particular land. So who happens to be over there? Abraham's favorite brother-in-law, Lot. So Abraham is once again concerned for his brother-in-law. He did everything he did the first time to save him. Now he's letting these angels, oh man, are you guys going to destroy the whole city, with the righteous? Like my brother-in-law, he's a solid dude. He might not be like me, but he's a solid guy. Are you going to kill him too? And they're like, let him know, you know what? If that's what you say, if your brother, or your brother-in-law is that righteous, we're not going to take away that city. We're not going to just destroy the city when there's, such a small amount of righteous people in there. But they got to go. And long story to be told, truth to be told, Lot and them, they do get up out of Sodom and Gomorrah, but the whole city does get destroyed. Even Lot's wife gets destroyed with it because of her lack of faith. So that's everything that you read about the preparation with that in the rest of 18 and even chapter 19 as well. So let's go to 19 and verse 27.
Verse 27. You want to read the destruction?
We talked about it, just about Abraham.
This is Genesis 19 and verse 27. And Abraham got up early in the morning to the place where he stood before the Lord. And he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward the land of the plain, and beheld, and lo, the smoke of the country went up as the smoke of a furnace.
So Abraham witnessed the destruction of that wicked city because of all the wicked things that they was doing there. And Lot was spared because the angels of the Most High said that we would look out for you and look out for him for your sakes. Read on.
Verse 29, and it came to pass when God destroyed the cities of the plain that God remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow when he overthrew the cities in which Lot dwelt. And Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountains, and his 2 daughters with him, for he feared to dwell in Zoar, and he dwelt in a cave, he and his 2 daughters.
So this genealogy is the genealogy of Lot, who would make the children of Ammon and the children of Moab, which again would become in later season one of our enemies as well too. Psalms 83. These other nations not being us, the Confederacy and the buddy only goes so far, so long as we keep or don't keep the Most High God's laws. Either way, they're going to either be on our throats or we're going to be on their throats. It doesn't matter if it was Abraham's favorite brother-in-law, their descendants are their descendants, and they're not our blood. So that's what that. You can go to chapter 20 and read verse 1.
And Abram journeyed from thence toward the south country, and dwelled between Kadesh and Shur, and sojourned in Gerar. And Abraham said of Sarah his wife, she is my sister. And Abimelech king Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah.
So we have the same similar instance that Abraham was doing 10 years back prior when he was first, in Egypt, where he had to tell these other nations, these other heathen nations, this is my sister. I'm not her husband. I don't want you to kill me because that's the only way you can get her. If she's my sister, it's cool. You guys can be more civil with me, but y'all will do anything to take this woman away from me, even beyond.
You got it?
No, you got it. you got it.
No, I was just gonna say this is after she's old, right? She's old here, like she's past childbearing age.
Yeah, she's like 100. So what are they?
And she's still a smoke show. They still
black don't crack.
Right.
That's what was going on right here. Even at 100 years old, and Abraham is still playing the same game. Like, this worked last time. Maybe I'll get rich off of this. What we're going to see right now, actually, it goes into more detail. Read verse 3.
But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said to him, Behold, thou art but a dead man, for the woman which thou hast taken, for she is a man's wife. But Abimelech had not come near her, and he said, Lord, wilt thou slay also a righteous nation? Said he not unto me, She is my sister, and she, even she herself said, He is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and in the innocency of my hands have I done this. And God said unto him in a dream, Yea, I know that thou didst this in the integrity of thy heart, for I also withheld thee from sinning against me. Therefore suffered I thee not to touch her. Now therefore restore the man his wife, for he is a prophet, and he shall pray for thee, and thou shalt live. If thou restore her not, know thou that thou shalt surely die, thou and all that are thine.
So this instance, although similar, is very different. This heathen Abimelech actually had more of a moral sense than Pharaoh in Egypt had. Because again, we read earlier that the Most High sent plagues on Pharaoh and the land until they figured it out. They're like, oh, this is a righteous woman belonging to a righteous union in marriage. In this instance, Abimelech, although Abraham set it up the same way, this dude Abimelech, as far as marriage integrity and probably sexuality is concerned, he's like, I'm a man of integrity. So much to the point.
It's a righteous nation.
Nah, we're not gonna go so far as to say a righteous nation, but some nations do things better than others. Okay. But we do things the best. Right. we as a nation do things the best. So he's like, playing with the Most High. The Most High in this instance is actually, let him know that, yeah, I know you was, for sure and genuine about it, but at the end of the day, she's not yours. She's a married woman. And you got to give her back, unless I'm a, plague you like Egypt. And he's like, okay, cool. And this is actually the beginning of a good Confederate friendship between this man and Abraham, which again driving the point of the business with these other nations that we need to maintain. Read on where you left off.
This is verse 8. Therefore Abimelech rose early in the morning and called all his servants and told all these things in their ears, and the men were sore afraid. Then Abimelech called Abraham and said unto him, What hast thou done unto us? And what have I offended thee, that thou hast brought on me and on my kingdom a great sin? Thou hast done deeds unto me that ought not to be done. And Abimelech said unto Abraham, What sawest thou that thou hast done this thing? And Abraham said, Because I thought surely the fear of God is not in this place, and they will slay me for my wife's sake.
So that's Abraham's ace. Anywhere he goes, he's like, you know the deal. I'm your brother. You're my sister. I'm not trying to die. I say this everywhere that I go. It's just that at this point in time, Abraham was still moving to wisdom, but he happened to stumble upon a fairly decent heathen nation of people. So now he's apologizing. Read on.
Verse 12. And yet indeed she is my sister. She is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife.
So Abraham's like, I technically didn't lie to you. This is where instance where I use wisdom. And all that wisdom is utilizing knowledge in a way that you're concealing something or you're revealing something. In this instance, Abraham used wisdom to conceal a matter. But he didn't lie because he said, yes, she technically is my sister. My father had her with another woman, but not with my mother. Therefore, technically, because my father had her, she is my sister, but also technically because my father had her with a different woman other than my mother, I'm able to marry her. And that's just, that's the first cousin's law that we're still, in America, still kind of like uncomfortable with. And I mean, it is what it is. But that's the explanation with that. We can marry our first cousins. How many of you are interested in doing that? I'm not sure. Probably not in America. Probably not in America. Read on.
Verse 13, and it came to pass when God caused me to wander from my father's house, that I said unto her, this is thy kindness which thou shalt shew unto me. At every place whither we shall come, say of me, he is my brother. And Abimelech took sheep and oxen and manservants and women servants, and gave them unto Abraham, and restored him Sarah his wife.
So right there, he gets double and extra. Again, what did Abraham do to actually, and I'm saying this, you know, sarcastically and sardonically, what did Abraham do to deserve that? Nothing, just having the favor of the Most High. And that's all it is. You know, he got his wife back and more substance. On top of that, he's been had substance. You know, he's been had substance since leaving Babylon or Chaldea. He's been getting these free gifts, and it's a beautiful thing, you know, when the Most High is messing with you like that. And that's what we had to look with on our forefather. Read on.
Verse 15, and Abimelech said, behold, my land is before thee. Dwell where it pleaseth thee. And unto Sarah he said, behold, I have given thy brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Behold, he is to thee a covering of the eyes unto all that are with thee, and with all other. Thus she was reproved. So Abraham prayed unto God, and God healed Abimelech and his wife and his maidservants, that they bare children. For the Lord had fast closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife.
So what did the Most High say? I am your shield and your exceeding great reward. Even though I warned this dude, I still sort of plagued them, just so the fact that they would give you all this stuff in humility, and then want to be, you know, cool with you. So again, the Most High is letting you know and letting us know and Abraham know that, man, I'm providing everything because of your faithfulness, because of your willingness to follow my customs as God and not these other gods. There's so many perks, and I'm going to provide it all for you.
He's also letting these other nations know what the deal is.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Yeah, like, for sure, for sure. He's the Most High God. You realize the Most High God was literally talking, not directly, but he was dealing with them and talking with them, letting them know, like, yes, I am a God that exists. You might not respect me, but right now, but I'm letting you know I'm living, and I'm probably speaking to you and communicating to you better than any of these other devils or demons or drawings that you guys worship. So the Most High is definitely letting himself be known as a power and a God amongst gods with these other nations. Yes, read on.
This is Genesis chapter 21, verse 1. And the Lord visited Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken. For Sarah conceived and bare Abraham a son in his old age, at the set time of which God had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son that was born unto him, whom Sarah bare to him, Isaac. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac, being 8 days old, as God has commanded him. And Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born unto him.
Finally, so at 100 years old, Most High finally gives him the son of the promise. So Abraham's looking like, what was he laughing at, Sarah? Sarah, she's probably like, no. But the promise was finally fulfilled, and the joyous joy of Abraham having his first blood son was now upon him. Side note, also too, this happens to be 392 years after the flood. So you can do that math, but just, little tidbits for you to know. Read verse 6. So now Sarah's going to say her piece.
And Sarah said, God hath made me to laugh, so that all that hear will laugh with me. And she said, who would have said unto Abraham that Sarah should have given children suck? For I have borne him a son in his old age. And the child grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast at the same day that Isaac was weaned.
So she's like, who would have thought? But it is what it is. So I submit that's basically what she was saying. And they had a whole feast for the birth of the son of promise, or the continuing promise. And in that, and immediately in that instance, Sarah, accepting the fact, later down in these verses, we see that Sarah is now actually going to kick out Hagar and Ishmael and be like, you know what? Yeah, it's the Most High is a real one. So they got to go. And that's basically what happens. So Ishmael and his mother, they leave the house of Abraham and they go dwell in the desert. And, the Most High is merciful for sure to Abraham. He said that you're going to be a father of many nations. They're going to bless you. So he sends an angel to be like, okay, the situation seems kind of messed up, but you got to understand that all these blessings and promises is strictly for the household of Abraham. You guys, you can be blessed and do some other stuff over there, but you just can't be part of this household. And again, Ishmael isn't the only one, he's the first one, but he's not the only one to be removed from the house. Actually, no, I take that back. Lot. Lot was the first one. So yeah, Ishmael's not the first one. Lot had to go do what he had to do somewhere else. Ishmael in this instance and his mom have to do what they got to do somewhere else, and they're not the last ones. You could read. Oh, yeah, more business stuff. Read Genesis 21 and verse 22.
And it came to pass at that time that Abimelech and Phicol, the chief captain of his host, spake unto Abraham, saying, God is with thee in all that thou doest. Now therefore swear unto me here by God that thou wilt not deal falsely with me, nor with my son, nor with my son's son, but according to the kindness that I have done unto thee. And thou shalt do unto me and to the land wherein thou hast sojourned.
So Abimelech, the same guy that had got cut up with Abraham's wife, he really likes Abraham, and the business and the relationship, between them has been really cool. And he's like, look, promise me that at least for myself and my son and my son's son, 3 generations, that you guys will be good to us. You guys won't forget, all the kindness that I've shown you, the great business deals, probably even the great parties that we've had together, under your authority. Don't forget those things, and don't forget them for my sons. That's what he's basically telling Abraham. So Abraham's like, I'm about to curse. I mess with you like that. I could be like that. Read verse 27.
And Abraham took sheep and oxen and gave them unto Abimelech, and both of them made a covenant. And Abraham set 7 ewe lambs of the flock by themselves. And Abimelech said unto Abraham, what mean these 7 ewe lambs which thou hast set by themselves? And he said, for these 7 ewe lambs shalt thou take of my hand, that they may be a witness unto me, that I have digged this well.
So now, this is another thing, a wisdom thing with Abraham. So Abimelech is asking, of grace and favor, or just favor, from Abraham, saying, don't forget about me or my sons and my son's sons. So Abraham's like, all right, that's cool, but I need you to not forget that this well, this is mine. Like, this belongs to our family. And that's why he's like, I'm going to give you these sheep or these ewes so that, you know, when you have them and they grow and multiply and increase, and you tell your sons, and your son tells your son, you know, why we have these animals, they're going to be a witness as to the covenant that we're currently making, that this well belongs to me. We're cool, but like, this is my property. And the wisdom behind that is considering this. If you have a well in the middle of a desert and it doesn't rain all the time, but you have water, that's basically you're winning. As far as business-wise and money-wise and finances, whoever owns that well is winning. You can tax people to come through to that part of the land. You could tax people, charge people for water, and water and land also means crops. So that means you can grow stuff that can't be grown probably within miles. There's a whole bunch that you could do with these natural resources, having a well of water, land, and animals. You know, there's a lot that you can, and I'm saying there's a lot, I don't know it all, but I'm saying we know our Native American brothers, 10 tribes, they was making cups out of like bison bones. So if you're using the animal to that extent, you can only imagine how much we knew about how to utilize the resources that were available to us back then. So Abraham's like saying, this well is ours. You know, this is not in your family. This is ours. This is for my wealth. So he's letting him know with that in the covenant. Again, trying to just put a business mind frame in this lesson as we go through. Read on.
Verse 31, wherefore he called that place Beersheba, because there they swear both of them. Thus they made a covenant at Beersheba. Then Abimelech rose up, and Phicol, the chief captain of his host, and they returned into the land of the Philistines. And Abraham planted a grove in Beersheba, and called there on the name of the Lord, the everlasting God. And Abraham sojourned in the Philistines' land many days.
So confirming it right there. He both was a shepherd of the land and also a husbandman, a farmer. So he had both of those things going on. That's money. That's money right there. Oh, yes. Let's read chapter 22.
This is Genesis 22 and verse 1. And it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, Behold, here I am. And he said, Take now thy son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee unto the land of Moriah, offer him there for an burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of.
So we was just talking about this a little bit before the lesson, but what you're reading and what you're hearing is what you're reading, what you're hearing. The Most High is telling Abraham, take your son, the same son that, you know, I promised to you would be, you know, getting these blessings and stuff like that, but take him and you need to go make him into a burnt offering. So to keep it brief, Abraham accepts this. Abraham understands. Abraham has a level of devotion and faith to the Most High God that a lot of us definitely did not grow up with, because we grew up probably at first thinking that our own parents was like our own, you know, real like fear and authority and mom and God really, and then, you know, them telling us about God, but that really never really sticks. And then you kind of grow older, and then you start fearing, you know, other things like, you know, the set around the corner or, you know, gangs and stuff like that, and then you just completely forget about how the Most High is the one that you're supposed to initially fear, and then grow to loving more than anything. Abraham had that. He had that so much to the point to where his pride and his joy, his son, you know, and that could be anything for us, he was willing to give up and to offer to the Most High, because again, his priorities was just like, well, I mean, the Most High God is really, you know, my health, wealth, and substance. I mean, shoot, look at everything that I've been through up to this point anyway. Why wouldn't I do this? So, again, the Most High is, it says tempting, but the Most High, again, he's still proving and testing the nature of Abraham's devotion. So, read from verse 7.
This is Genesis chapter 22 and verse 7. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father and said, My father. And he said, Here am I, my son. And he said, Behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? And Abraham said, My son, God will provide him a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went both of them together.
So Abraham, again, using that wisdom, the ability to conceal or reveal information, he doesn't tell his son, I'm about to sacrifice you, because that probably wouldn't have looked well. But he did, subtly, in a parable, be like, the Most High is going to provide a lamb. And at this point, I'm pretty sure, this you could look at it from both ends. Either Abraham knew that the Most High was not going to take his son, or that Abraham was, and this is the reality, Abraham knew, was like, I'm about to give it up. I'm about to give you up, and you're basically the lamb. But I'm not letting you know that. I'm concealing that from you, because who knows what you'll do after that. So that's literally Abraham's level of devotion to the Most High. Go to verse 9.
And they came to the place which God had told him of, and Abraham built an altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. And the angel of the Lord called unto him out of the heaven, and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest God, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me.
That actually seals the deal right there. It's been a minute since I've read this myself, but I just remember certain things. But that right there lets you know, Abraham was like, you're the lamb. But I'm not telling you you're the lamb. The Most High required and requested you. I got to do what the Most High God said to do. So again, he was ready, and whatever took place from him telling him the Most High will provide a lamb to tying up his son, who I don't know if he struggled or not. Those details aren't revealed, but he did everything that he had to do to make his devotion sure to the Most High. So I guess the moral of the story with that is we got to be willing, to give up the things that we love the most for the Most High. And then we have this as an example to know how the Most High is going to bless us regardless, but understanding that you might not have the same mercy or how can I say this? You might not have the same outcome that the Most High gave to Isaac. The thing that you love the most, person, more than likely it's going to be people, or those are the most precious things, not really like, your wristwatch and stuff like that. But more than likely, the things you got to sacrifice as far as people, the Most High is going to actually remove those things from your life permanently. Like, you're not going to see certain people again, and who knows the will of the Most High. But that's, again, what we got to be willing to sacrifice to show our devotion to the Lord of heaven and earth, Yahweh, and it really makes you, it really takes that pride away and see how worthless is not the term. It makes you see how small that we are in comparison as far as what we got to do, even with our own free will, to serve the Most High. But again, he's always going to recompense you. Look at Job. He's always going to recompense you something much greater in return. But at least in the season of transition, caterpillar to butterfly, something's got to get put to death, put away. And that could have happened with Isaac, but it didn't in this instance. You can read verse 13.
And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son.
So something was replaced with that instance. Um, So the Most High is basically going to make another promise to Abraham about the promise and your seed and such like that, and Isaac, who he's going to have. And we can start at chapter 23.
This is Genesis chapter 23 and verse 1. And Sarah was 107 and 20 years old. These were the years of the life of Sarah. And Sarah died in Kirjatharba. The same is Hebron in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to the mount to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. And Abraham stood up from before his dead and spake unto the sons of Heth, saying, I am a stranger and a sojourner with you, for give me a possession of a burying place with you, that I may bury my dead out of my sight. And the children of Heth answered Abraham, saying unto him, Hear us, my lord, for thou art a mighty prince among us. In the choice of our speculars, bury thy dead. None of us shall withhold from thee his sepulchre, but that thou mayest bury thy dead.
So Sarah at this time, she died, and Abraham actually previously he had some concubines and some kids, and is going to get another concubine and some kids as we read on. But initially, his wife of his same stock, blood, the woman that he loved, she died. So Abraham, being in good standing with the people of the land, the children of Heth, that covenant that he still made with Abimelech from earlier, this just gives you insight as far as the covenant or the business relationship that they, had for him. They called him, it's like, you're a great prince among us, which means you're a great, a ruler, pretty much. Everything that you were doing, we're benefiting off of basically from you, from the well that you owned to the cattle that you own and everything. Oh, and the grove or the vineyard, whatever the crop was that you grew too. All that, those things that you do, we're getting the dividends of that. You're profiting, but you're keeping our mouths fed. You're a great dude. Of course we're going to give you a place to bury your wife, for this instance. So again, if only we knew how to be shepherds in the city. If only we knew how to be farmers in the city. If only we knew how to be people that had wells, how to manage water in the city. If we knew these things, it would definitely give us a great advantage when we do want to seek some sort of independence, codependence, for ourselves, but understanding we still got to deal with, in particular, the ones that hold the resources, the other nations. That's the only way that things are going to get passed around. You get what you need, I get what you need, and such like that. We got to keep that in mind. You can read it, verse 7.
And Abraham stood up and bowed himself to the people of the land, even to the children of Heth, and he communed with them, saying, If it be your mind that I should bury my dead out of my sight, hear me, and entreat me to Ephron the son of Zohar, that he may give me the cave of Machpelah, which is in the end of his field. For as much money as it is worth, he shall give it me for a possession of a burying place amongst you. And Ephron dwelt among the children of Heth, and Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham in the audience of the children of Heth, even of all that went in at the gate of his city, saying, Nay, my lord, hear me. The field give I thee, and the cave that is therein. I give it thee in the presence of the sons of my people. Give I it thee, bury thy dead.
Pause right there. Let's go to so basically we get the details of like how much this land was worth, and you're just using it basically to bury your wife. So, He's just talking about wealth and such like that, and basically how the Most High is going to give us that wealth, and then the way that we deal with these other nations, that have the wealth, how to go about how they should see us. Pretty much, they should see us as something to be glorified, because of the Most High. Let's go to chapter 24. We're just about almost done too, but chapter 24, verse 1.
Genesis chapter 24 and verse 1. And Abraham was old and well stricken in age, and the Lord had blessed Abraham in all things. And Abraham said unto his eldest servant of his house, that ruled over all that he had, Put, I pray thee, thy hand under my thigh, and I will make thee swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of the earth, that thou shalt not take a wife unto my son of the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I dwell. But thou shalt go unto my country and to my kindred, and take a wife unto my son Isaac.
So basically, Abraham is now at this point of ensuring that Isaac is going to get a wife so that he can continue the promise and the covenant that the Most High, promised him. And he's being specific, just no different than Abraham's like, well, the same way that Hagar and Ishmael were the children of the promise because it was Sarah who was of my kindred that I was supposed to be married to. I need you, my servant, to go find Isaac a wife of our kindred as well too, so that the upbringing will be well upon him. Because I don't want any of these women of the Canaanites to be my son's wife. It's just not going to go well custom wise, and even to the point of bloodline. We're not going to touch upon that because we're a nation that has we're a nation that came of concubines of other nations as well too. But in this particular instance, Abraham was just making it known it's going to be much easier to deal with somebody that is aware of the same things that I keep and that we keep, because our seed line coming from Terah, from Shem, not Ham, like these Canaanites, we know the Most High God a little bit better than these other nations. So I'm going to make it easy on him. That was the reasoning behind that. So we're not going to really go into the details of that because that's more so on Isaac's details. We just know that Abraham instructed that, and that is what came to pass, and that's why Isaac had Jacob in the first place, is because of Abraham's instruction in this instance. So now let's go to chapter 25, excuse me.
This is Genesis chapter 25 and verse 1. Then again Abraham took a wife, and her name was Keturah, and she bare him Zimran, and Jokshan, and Medan, and Midian, and Ishbak, and Shua.
Khan, you can stop right there. So now, just to even promise what the Most High had promised Abraham, he said, look, you're going to be a father of many nations. So these concubines, the second one that he took, including Ishmael and Hagar, and including the one that we didn't even talk about, these are that promise that, you're going to give birth to many nations that are going to dwell within, the Arabian Peninsula and such like that. So the Most High let him know. But again, just because Abraham is the father of these many nations doesn't mean that these many nations that would come to be are chosen by the Most High God. Let's go to Romans 9 really quick, if you guys have never heard of such a thing. Romans 9. Romans 9 and verse 7.
This is Romans 9 and 7. Neither, because they are the seed of Abraham, are they all children. But in Isaac shall thy seed be called. That is, they which are the children of the flesh, these are not the children of God, but the children of the promise are counted for the seed.
So again, Abraham ensured that promise by making sure that Isaac, the follow-up or the forerunner of the children of promise, would get a wife from his stock to make things much simpler. So that's, what that scripture is talking about as far as children of the promise. The bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So yeah, aside from his concubines and their sons. Now read verse 25. I mean verse 5 in chapter 25.
And Abraham gave all that he had unto Isaac, but unto the sons of the concubines which Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts and sent them away from Isaac his son, while he yet lived eastward unto the east country. And these are the days of the years of Abraham's life which he lived, 160 years.
Let me expand real quick. So it's no new thing. Abraham's been kicking out his kids from amongst his chosen promised kid because of the Most High. He's been doing that, so this is no new thing. So he sends them out eastward just like the rest of them so they can figure out life and hopefully get blessed by the Most High somehow. But again, doing that with intention that he said, and Abraham gave all that he had unto Isaac. He didn't give all that he had unto these other kids. He just gave them little trinkets and gifts and said, figure it out. You can read on, verse 8.
Then Abraham gave up the ghost and died in a good old age, an old man and full of years, and it was gathered to his people. And his sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in a cave of Meshpelah, in the field of Ephron, the son of Zohar the Hittite, which is before Mamre. The field which Abraham purchased of the sons of Heth, there was Abraham buried, and Sarah his wife. And it came to pass after the death of Abraham that God blessed his son Isaac, and Isaac dwelt by the well Lahirah.
So everything that was put upon Abraham now is put upon Isaac as far as those blessings. Because now, at the end of all his kids and his chosen kid, Abraham finally died, as it said, at 145. At 445 years of age, Abraham dies. Oh, I'm tripping. Excuse me. 3 scores 20. 20, 40, 60 plus 15. That's what, 75? At 175, Abraham finally gives up the ghost and dies in the same land, in the same field where his wife was buried. So that is the life and times, again, of Abraham. All the business, all the repetitions and the coming of the Most High to tell him and to assure him, and even some of the lesser-known comedic moments that he experienced. That is the life of Abraham, the father of Israel, the father of faith, as he's known by. So hopefully you guys got something out of that lesson. We will catch you on the next one. Good night.
Shalom.
And shalom.